Forget everything you thought you knew about VPS deployment, because Dokploy just changed the game. I just had my first successful VPS deployment using Dokploy, and honestly, it made the whole process so much smoother than I expected. In this video, I'll walk you through exactly how I set it up and explain why I think Dokploy is the must-have if you're managing your own server or deploying multiple projects. If you want to deploy faster, easier, and with confidence, this video is for you. Alright, first thing first, we need a VPS. I'm using Headcenter, but you can use any provider you like. Okay, I've created a new server. So let's copy the server IP and connect through SSH. Then I'll go to the Dokploy website and copy the installation command and run it in my server's terminal. When the installation is complete, Dokploy gives me a link to access my instance, and here I'll create my admin user. Now let's assign a domain or subdomain to my Dokploy instance. Here I'll create a new DNS record and then add this domain inside Dokploy's web server settings. Let's try to access it using the domain. Perfect. I'll just log in with the admin email and password. Alright, for this demo, I have a simple project, a React app for the front end and a C# ASP.NET Core Web API as the backend. There are two Docker files, one for the Web API and one for the React client. I'll use GitHub Actions to build my Docker images and send them to my VPS, and then trigger Dokploy to redeploy automatically. So I created a deployment workflow in GitHub using a matrix build, which lets me build and deploy both projects at the same time. Here it builds the Docker image and save each one as a tar file. Next, it copies those tar files into my VPS using SCP. Once copied, it connects via SSH and load those tar files into Docker, tagging them as latest. At the end, I trigger the Dokploy webhook, which tells Dokploy to redeploy the application using the uploaded images. To make the SSH connection work securely, I generate a public and private key pair. The public key goes to the server and the private key goes into GitHub secrets. I also add the server IP as a GitHub variable. Now GitHub can securely connect to my server without a password. Let's check the public key on the server. Right, it's copied correctly. Here, I'll create a folder for my Docker images. Now it's time to create the project inside Dokploy. I'll name it demo, and inside it, I'll create a compose service for both API and client. In the Web API service, I paste my Docker compose, which just creates a container based on the Web API image. I can also add environments variables later. In the deployment tab, I can get the webhook URL. I'll copy this into GitHub variable because my workflow uses it to trigger Dokploy deployment. I'll do the same for the client service. And Dokploy also let me add a database. So I'll create a MongoDB here. Then add my backend environment variables. I'll copy the MongoDB connection string from here. And we are all done. Let's run the GitHub workflow. Both Web API and client are building. The Docker images are copied, and in the deployment tab, we can see the new deployment triggered. Same thing for the client service. Finally, let's add the domain to the client service. After adding the domain, we just redeploy, and everything works as expected. The combination of Dokploy, Docker, and GitHub Actions make the process super powerful and flexible, especially if you are managing multiple apps or microservices. If you found this helpful, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment if you have any question. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.